Kritika is a beautiful nakshatra. There are many misconceptions about Kritika, but in reality, Kritika is a highly spiritual nakshatra because it is ruled by Lord Sun. It falls in the sign of Aries as well as in the sign of Taurus. In Taurus, it occupies the second, third, and fourth pada. Find out in this podcast on how great and how significant Kritika Nakshatra is, and some of the great personalities born with Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra. So let's begin. Kritika is hot, but this hotness is not of Mars. This hotness is of Sun, the source of our universe. Mars' hotness is simply sexual. Sun's hotness is highly spiritual. Understand the difference. Placed in the fiery sign of Aries and romantic sign of Taurus, Kritika, the nakshatra of the star Sun, is all fired up to get things done. The fire to learn, the courage to take risks is what makes Kritika a very special nakshatra. And when Rahu is in Kritika, these qualities simply are exaggerated. So now you have a Kritika Rahu native whose desire is to learn as much as he or she can. The desire to do something unique, the desire to have some adventures in life. Basically, the native wants some action, some spice, some thrill in life. With most of its time being spent in the sign of Taurus, since Kritika occupies the second, third, and fourth pada in the sign of Taurus, the native having Rahu in Kritika Taurus does demand a good lifestyle that has all the luxuries and pleasures to offer. Rahu in Aries Kritika first pada is the only black spot. Otherwise, Rahu in Taurus in all the three padas, second, third, and fourth, is an excellent placement for the native. Kritika Rahu in Aries is not comfortable considering Mars is enemy to Rahu. However, the same Kritika Rahu in Taurus sign becomes a great booster for the native's career and overall growth. Action is what Kritika wants. Kritika is closely related to Lord Kartikeya, and Lord Kartikeya was a great Kshatriya warrior. He was the brother of Sri Ganesha and was known for his valor and courage. Lord Kartikeya is also known as Lord Murugan in South India. He is the warrior god. And so when Rahu falls in Kritika, then the person becomes a highly action-oriented person. It is a good quality because there are many people who continue to dream but they never take the necessary action. To achieve your dreams, you need to act first. That is exactly what Rahu in Kritika natives are good at. They take action. They are highly action-oriented fellows. They simply jump first and then think as much as they want. Always remember, the secret of getting things done is to act. In one of the greatest book of wisdom, Dasabodh, written by Saint Samarth Ramdas Swami, it is mentioned in Marathi language, केल्याने होते आहे रे आधी केलेची पाहिजे, which means by doing it happens, so first you should do it. Saint Ramdas simply wants you to realize that action is required. Only by taking action you can achieve your dreams, your goals and your mission. A true seeker should definitely read the wonderful, insightful divine book of wisdom, Das Bodh. Das means servant and Bodh means self-realization, wisdom. Around 500 years ago, Samartha Ramdas Swami scripted this divine book of wisdom, which is now being translated in English language for a wider reach. Kritika is good at taking action. Now it all depends on what is the quality of your horoscope. Are you an evolved soul? Are you a meditative being? Because there are many who claim to be an astrologer, but when they comment, they use so many offensive words. Just through those offensive words, I can make out what level they belong to. Your comments, the words you speak, the words you say to others, immediately reflect what you are from within. So never go on the appearances. Bhagwan Raman Maharshi always used to say that the real spiritual being is not based on how long you have your beard or what kind of fancy clothes you wear. The real spiritual being may roam around even in jean pants. He may even wear the most modern dress, but from within, he is completely spiritual. He is completely detached. So it doesn't matter what clothes you make him wear. He has already gone beyond the mind. So it is necessary to see the horoscope and decide whether that horoscope belongs to an evolved soul. Who is an evolved soul? A soul that has spent many years in penance, in meditation, in chanting. Such a soul is an evolved soul. So for such an evolved soul, the nakshatra Kritika works wonders. Finally, what is nakshatra? It is the nature, the quality, the guna. Once you know your guna, then you know where to use it, how to use it. But ignorant, negative folks having Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra can simply spoil their life by hurting others. There are so many scholars and so-called pandits, but they don't have even a decency when it comes to commenting. They themselves become naked the moment they comment, because through their comment, through their offensive words, they themselves show the whole world what they are. And a wise person can immediately understand this. So it is important to note that Rahu in Kritika is a very sensitive placement, because either you can become a good fighter who fights for a good cause, or you may simply continue to hurt others by your insensitive comments, offensive words and offensive actions. And so it is necessary that the overall planetary placement is positive in nature and the person is an evolved soul. It is very simple and it is a truth that whosoever is following me or listening to my podcast or reading my answers must be an evolved soul, or he must be on the path, because it is impossible to understand me, understand the astrology that I talk about. So I am happy whosoever is listening to me, and he or she should know that they are on the right path. And so when it is Kritika, some insensitiveness comes by default. Now this insensitiveness can actually become an asset for someone who is aspiring to join the military or police force. So it all depends on where the seed falls. Kritika, Uttara Falguni Nakshatra and Uttara Shadha Nakshatra, all three belong to Lord Sun. Kritika being a nakshatra of sun and placed in the sign of Mars and Venus, these natives are highly active and also charming. They have a certain charm to their personality. You can say that they are the downtown. A downtown has the charm and is full of activities and looks very lively and beautiful. When I flew to the US for the very first time in the month of October 2006, I wasn't aware of what this downtown is all about. But then on the second day of my trip, a close American friend told me that downtown is the main city area where all business activities takes place. Across the US, every city has a downtown. So you see, Kritika is the downtown, a activity hub, a place where action takes place. Incidentally, men and women born on Kritika Nakshatra are also highly action oriented. Never mess with a woman having her moon in Kritika Nakshatra. She will not hesitate to give you a nice kick if she knows how to do karate or if she knows a bit about boxing. I love and respect Kritika Nakshatra because we need brave, courageous men and women who can dare to fight back, who can dare to speak the truth. We need fighters who will fight against injustice, against corruption, against inequality. Kritika Rahu natives has that fuel to fight for their rights as well as for others' rights. My birthright is a favorite phrase of Kritika Rahu natives, as well as those born on Kritika Nakshatra. They always want to secure their rights, be it human rights, legal rights, but they want to ensure that they get what they are entitled for. Reminds me of Martin Luther King Jr., who fought for black Americans. King participated in and led marches for blacks' right to vote, labor rights, and other basic civil rights. You see, Rahu in Kritika brings such courage to fight against inequality and injustice. King was awarded the Nobel Prize on October 14, 1964. Martin Luther King had Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra. One of the most favorite quote of mine, that is Martin Luther King's quote is, "Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or in the darkness of destructive selfishness." You see, the spark of Sun's Nakshatra Kritika and how this spark becomes a great light when Rahu falls in Kritika. Martin Luther King Jr. had Rahu in Kritika, and his great struggle for basic human rights for the black Americans is simply inexpressible in words. An evolved soul having Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra will never stand injustice. He will fight back for justice. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, says Martin Luther King Jr. Rahu Kritika natives rejoice when they are able to fight back and attain the crown of righteousness. It is always good to have a friend having Rahu in Kritika or Moon in Kritika, because such a friend has the courage to fight for you, especially if you are being sidelined or mistreated by others. These natives will give you confidence by saying, "Don't worry, I am here for you." Friendship is not about who you have known the longest. It's about who walked into your life and said, "I am here for you," and proved it. Rahu Kritika natives are those kind of friends who will remain with you even when the whole world goes against you or condemns you. They are the Karna of this modern age. Always remember, my fellows, A real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out. Reminds me of a beautiful story. The story of two friends on the backdrop of the Second World War. Two soldiers were very friendly, great friends. One evening, one soldier comes back to the trench but finds that his friend has not returned. Many people have been killed on the front. He becomes afraid. Is his friend killed? He inquires. And then somebody says, "We are not certain that he is killed, but he was so terribly wounded that it was impossible for him to come to the trench. By now he must be dead." It is getting dark now, and the enemy is still firing madly, but the soldier wants to go and search for his friend. The officer says, "No, this is foolish." But he doesn't listen to the officer. He goes. It is very difficult in the dark, and there are thousands of dead bodies all around. He looks, and in the middle of the night, he returns, dragging his friend's dead body on his back. He himself is now terribly wounded. He cannot survive. The moment he reaches the trench, he falls on the floor with the body of his dead friend. The officer comes and he says, "I told you not to be foolish. It was not worth it. Now you know what you have done to yourself. The friend is dead and you are also dying." The dying man opened his eyes and he said, "But it was worth it. Because when I went there, he looked at me and said, 'Jim, I knew you would come.' For love, life can be sacrificed. It is worth it." We have been taught just the contrary. Sacrifice everything just to be alive, just to survive, sacrifice everything. But the Master says, to be loving, sacrifice everything. Such is the spirit of Kritika Nakshatra, the spirit of love, the spirit of sacrificing everything for a higher cause, a higher purpose. But unfortunately, many people and so-called Pandits have simply defamed this beautiful fiery nakshatra, Kritika Nakshatra, simply because they cannot stand the truth. They are wolves and not tigers like Kritika Nakshatra. Rahu exaggerates the matters of life to which it is associated with. Similarly, now that Rahu is in Kritika, the base desire of the native is attaining social status, prestige and power, pleasures of this human world, luxurious life and a constant active life. People having Rahu in Kritika generally don't like to retire. Retirement is not something they desire for. They want to continue working until they take their last breath. Always remember, work is the basis of living. A man will rust out quicker than he'll wear out. The wise never retires. I have been with great spiritual masters, and I have seen them closely, fully active in serving people until their last breath. And so one should never retire. You may get an official retirement after the age of 58 in a government office. However, you should ensure that you remain active by doing something constructive for the society in general. Family, wealth, accumulation of wealth, treasury is what the native is obsessed with. Power is what they want, but this power is basically to strengthen their treasury and bank balance. They want power to secure their future. Taurus is a sign that deals with the practicalities of life. It is a highly romantic sign, but you should remember that the word romance is defined as adventure in the English dictionary. And so Taurus men and women go through many adventures in life. Some are tragic, some are enlightening, but there is always action in their life. There is always some spice in their life. Being a sun's nakshatra, the native is more individualistic. He follows his heart. He believes in living life by being yourself. Sun's sharpness comes naturally to a Rahu Kritika native. Being ethical, being truthful, being sincere, and most importantly, taking the lead, taking the initiative is something that Rahu Kritika native loves to do. Reminds me of Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding father of the US and the author of the essay Way to Wealth. Benjamin had Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra. If you visit the White House, then you will see the photo of Benjamin Franklin hanging on the wall of the Oval Office. How significant must be this genius man, Benjamin Franklin. Just near the resolute desk, the desk of the US President, you will see only Benjamin Franklin's photo hanged on the wall. In fact, Benjamin Franklin photo is also imprinted on most of the US currency notes. On this note, you can see Benjamin Franklin's photo imprinted. Kritika is the first nakshatra in the zodiac cycle that belongs to Lord Sun. And so the sharpness, the intelligence, the genius quality is indeed a boon of Kritika Nakshatra. Benjamin Franklin is one fine example of Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra. Rahu in Kritika are highly faithful beings, and it is clearly seen through the quote of Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin says, "I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid?" Greatness comes when you surrender to God, when you have deep faith in God. Benjamin Franklin expresses his faith in God in such a beautiful way. Saint Mother Teresa also has Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra. Kritika Rahu in the 6th house of her ascendant chart shows her obsession towards serving the underprivileged. 6th house, a perfect place that signifies the desire to serve the diseased, the orphan, the unhealthy, the oppressed, and those men and women who are in some kind of trouble or problem. 6th house typically signify servitude, and Rahu in 6th house signify that the person loves to provide service to others. The fruit of love is service. The fruit of service is peace, and peace begins with a smile, says Saint Mother Teresa. Kritika is a warrior's nakshatra, and a true warrior is not the one who sheds blood of innocent men and women, but one who sacrifices himself for the good of others. Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra in an evolved soul's chart can give such fantastic results, can make you less selfish and more selfless. Always remember, warriors are not what you think of as warriors. The warrior is not someone who fights, for no one has the right to take another life. The warrior for us is the one who sacrifices himself for the good of others. His task is to take care of the elderly, the defenseless, those who cannot provide for themselves, and above all, the children, the future of humanity. The warrior or the Kshatriya is the one who sacrifices himself for the good of others. Kritika can do something new, that is out of the blue. Kritika can make history. That is what Hillary Clinton did when she became the first American woman to contest the 2016 US presidential elections. Hillary Clinton made history. She has a Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra. So you see the power of Kritika. A woman having Rahu in Kritika is a fortunate placement, because in this age a woman need to have fighting spirit and not giving up spirit. So Kritika is a nakshatra that can carve its own name in gold. It has the ability to bring a certain uniqueness to your individuality, and Rahu in Kritika does bring along some uniqueness to the native's individuality. Mohan asked, "What is the spiritual significance of Kritika Nakshatra?" I said to Mohan, "You have asked what others won't think of asking. I will tell you now the spiritual significance of Kritika Nakshatra." Kritika Nakshatra is connected with Lord Dattatreya. Lord Dattatreya is represented as having three faces, one of Lord Brahma, the second of Lord Vishnu, and the third of Lord Shiva. In simple words, it signifies that this is the only deity that has attained the strength of Brahma, the strength of Vishnu, and the strength of Mahesh, that is Shiva. All the three gunas, Rajas, that is royal, Satvik, that is pious, and Tamas, that is fighter, are found in Lord Dattatreya. And so one who worships Lord Dattatreya attains the blessings of all the three devatas, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. He becomes invincible. He attains great spiritual heights. Now you all must be wondering that what connects Kritika with Lord Dattatreya. I will tell you. The bridge that connects Kritika with Lord Dattatreya is the holy tree, the Audumbar tree. Audumbar is known as blue lotus in Buddhism. In English, it is called the redwood fig or cluster fig tree. This divine tree is the favorite of Lord Dattatreya, and the tree that comes under Kritika Nakshatra is also the Audumbar tree, the cluster fig tree. So those who have Rahu in Kritika Nakshatra should definitely worship this holy divine tree, Audumbar tree, on every Thursday. Thursday is the day of Lord Dattatreya, and across India, especially in the state of Maharashtra, Karnataka, Gujarat, the divine tree Audumbar is worshipped by the devotees of Lord Dattatreya. The significance and importance of the greatest deity that the world had ever known is found in the golden words of Bhagwan Raman Maharshi. Bhagwan Raman Maharshi says, Dattatreya is the universal Guru, isn't he? And he has said that the whole world was his Guru. If you look at evil, you feel you should not do it. So he said evil also was his Guru. If you see good, you would wish to do it. So he said that good also was his Guru. Both good and evil, he said, were his Gurus. It seems that he asked a hunter which way he should go, but the latter ignored his question as he was intent upon his aim to shoot a bird above. Dattatreya saluted him, saying, "You are my Guru. Though killing the bird is bad, keeping your aim so steadfast in shooting the arrow as to ignore my query is good, thereby teaching me that I should keep my mind steadfast and fixed on Ishvara, on God. You are therefore my Guru. In the same way, he looked upon everything as his Guru, till in the end he said that his physical body itself was a Guru, as its consciousness does not exist during sleep, and the body that does not exist should therefore not be confused with the soul, the feeling that the body is the soul. Therefore, that too was a Guru for him. While he looked upon the whole world as his Guru, the whole world worshipped him as its Guru. I am so touched to share this beautiful quote of Bhagwan Raman Maharshi on Lord Dattatreya. Just look at the positivism. The hunter ignores Lord Dattatreya, but he makes the hunter as his Guru, because through him he has learned something new. See the positivism, see the quality of constant learning from situations. I humbly prostrate Lord Dattatreya. One who worships the divine tree, Audumbar, the cluster fig tree, receives the blessings from Lord Dattatreya and Kritika Nakshatra as well. In addition to this, if your Jupiter is afflicted, if your Jupiter is not placed well in your birth chart, then I would urge each one of you to worship the divine tree Audumbar on every Thursday, and if possible, also fast on every Thursday. The first nakshatra of the zodiac cycle is Ketu's nakshatra, that is Ashwini. From nothingness, that is Ketu, we are born. There is a beautiful story in the Upanishads which I have mentioned in my book No Mind, in which sage Uddhalaka asks his son to break the seed of banyan tree, and he breaks the seed, and sage Uddhalaka asks, what do you find inside the seed? And Shvetaketu, that was his name, Shvetaketu says, Father, there is nothing inside this seed. And then sage Uddhalaka says, from that nothingness, this huge banyan tree has manifested. Similarly, from this nothingness, we are born. Ashwini, therefore, is the first nakshatra of the zodiac cycle, and it is ruled by Ketu, the nothingness. The second nakshatra of the zodiac cycle is the nakshatra of Venus, that is Bharani. This beautiful human body, all the organs of this human body are the blessings of Venus, and Bharani is the second nakshatra of the zodiac cycle. Through Bharani, we have manifested into this human body. And the third nakshatra of the zodiac cycle is the sun's nakshatra, Kritika. The human body is formed, but consciousness, awareness comes through the divine light of the sun, Kritika. To such a sharp, fiery nakshatra of sun, Kritika, I humbly prostrate and pray that all my listeners are blessed by its divine light. Always remember, suffering is necessary as long as you are asleep, as long as you are living an ignorant life. The moment you wake up, suffering ceases to exist. Then you truly start enjoying every moment of life. The key is to wake up, and that is possible only when you start turning inwards and realize that the light of consciousness is within you. Always remember, the fire of suffering becomes the light of consciousness. So stop whining over your sufferings and start learning from your sufferings. The more you learn, the more you become aware, and then this awareness will burn up your ignorance. The key is to meditate. The key is to devote your time to God. The key is to start chanting the holy mantra. Om Ram Krishna Hari. Om Ram Krishna Hari. Om Ram Krishna Hari. You will realize the power of chanting only when you start chanting. So get started, because life is short. I may be dead by tomorrow. You may be dead by tomorrow. We never know when the exit call would come. We never know when death will strike us. So use this precious moment to grow inside out. For the real growth is the growth within. Just remember, before death comes, use the opportunity of life to attain something which is beyond death. And so meditate every day. And when you meditate, remember, you are being watched. The Master is watching you. Jai Sri Ganesha, Jai Guru.